Rain had a way of making the city feel lonelier than it already was, washing color from the streets and leaving only reflections and regret. On one such afternoon, a small hand tugged at a man's sleeve, and everything he thought he knew about walking past pain began to unravel. A child's eyes, wide with certainty and heartbreak, fixed on a woman sitting alone on a bench, and the world paused just long enough for kindness to decide whether it would show up or not. If you believe that compassion can still change lives, that second chances exist even when the world feels cold, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this live because people like you believe in them. The man had not planned for heroism that day. He had planned for groceries, for a quiet walk home, for an evening that looked like all the others. He was a single father, careful with time and money, measured in his emotions because little eyes learned from everything he did. His daughter skipped beside him in pink shoes already damp from puddles, her hair tied back neatly, her laughter fading as the rain thickened. When they passed the park, she slowed, then stopped entirely, her attention caught by a figure that did not belong to the cheerful rhythm of the place. A young woman sat hunched on a wooden bench, soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her face, her hands gripping a worn bag as if it were the last solid thing in her life. She looked small, not in body but in spirit, as though the city had shrunk her down with every disappointment it handed her. The father noticed her too, the way adults notice sadness and then quickly look away, filing it under "not my problem." He had learned that skill over years of surviving his own losses. But his daughter had not learned it yet. Children see what is there without the filters of fear or inconvenience. She stared openly, her steps hesitant, her brow furrowed with concern that felt too big for someone so young. The rain pattered on leaves and benches, and the woman did not move, did not wipe her face, did not check her phone. She simply existed in her loneliness, visible to anyone brave enough to really look. The father gently urged his daughter forward, feeling the familiar tug of responsibility. Life had taught him that stopping could be dangerous, that involvement came with costs. He had lost his wife years earlier to illness, had rebuilt his world brick by careful brick, and could not afford to let it collapse again. Yet his daughter did not budge. Her small fingers tightened around his hand, and he felt something crack inside him, a quiet resistance to the habits he had formed to protect himself. They stood there longer than was comfortable. Cars passed, umbrellas bobbed, and the woman on the bench remained a still point in the moving frame of the city. The father felt the weight of choice press against his chest. He remembered nights when he himself had sat alone, grief-heavy, hoping someone might notice. He remembered how often no one did. The memory burned, sharp and instructive, and he looked down at his daughter, who had not taken her eyes off the stranger even once. The girl's compassion was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, insistent, and pure. She did not see a burden or a risk, she saw a person left behind. In her world, that was enough. The father sighed, not in defeat but in surrender to something better than caution. He adjusted his jacket, glanced around, and stepped closer to the bench, his daughter's hand still in his. The woman looked up then, startled, her eyes red-rimmed not only from rain. There was fear there, and embarrassment, and the fragile hope that comes when someone acknowledges your existence after you have started to doubt it matters. Up close, the father could see how young she was, barely older than he had been when responsibility first weighed him down. Her clothes were clean but worn, her shoes cracked at the seams. She smelled of rain and soap, the scent of someone who tried to hold on to dignity even as life slipped away. The park around them felt quieter, as if the trees themselves leaned in to listen. The father felt the pull of empathy tug him forward, and he did something he had not done in years. He stayed. He did not rush. He did not assume. He simply offered presence, the rarest currency in a busy world. His daughter stood beside him, a small lighthouse of concern, her eyes flicking between her father and the woman as if willing them to understand each other. The rain eased, and in that brief lull, the woman's story spilled out not in words but in posture, in the way her shoulders sagged and her grip on the bag loosened. She had come to the city chasing opportunity, only to find closed doors. A job lost, a room gone, a phone with no one left to call. The bench had become her refuge because it asked nothing of her. The father listened with the patience of someone who knew how it felt to be reduced to survival. He thought of his small apartment, of the spare room filled with boxes of memories he rarely opened. He thought of the example he was setting for his daughter, of the kind of world she would inherit if everyone kept walking past benches like this one. The fear he felt was real, but so was the warmth growing in his chest, the sense that this moment mattered more than comfort ever could. When he finally made the decision, it was not dramatic. It was quiet and firm, like laying down a foundation stone. He offered the woman something radical in its simplicity, a place to dry off, a meal, a night without fear. The city seemed to exhale, and the woman's eyes filled with something brighter than rain. Relief does that, turns strangers into believers again. The daughter smiled then, a smile that carried the unfiltered joy of having been right about the world. The walk back felt different. The rain returned, but it no longer felt punishing. It felt cleansing, as though the streets themselves approved. The woman walked carefully, as if afraid the ground might disappear beneath her feet. The father noticed how she stayed a step behind, not wanting to intrude, and how his daughter slowed so they could all move together. The apartment door opened to warmth and light, modest but welcoming. Towels appeared, soup simmered, and the night unfolded with the quiet grace of small mercies stacking up into something life-changing. Days turned into weeks. The woman did not overstay her welcome. She helped where she could, cooked, cleaned, applied for jobs with a determination fueled by gratitude and renewed hope. The father watched her rebuild herself piece by piece, the way he had once rebuilt himself after loss. His daughter watched too, learning lessons no book could teach. She learned that kindness was not a fairy tale concept but a practice, something you did even when it was inconvenient or scary. The challenges did not vanish. There were awkward moments, tight finances, nights when doubt crept in. But there was also laughter returning to rooms that had known only quiet. There were shared meals, shared stories, and the slow knitting together of a chosen family. The woman found work, then a small place of her own, but she never truly left. She became part of their lives, a living testament to the power of being seen at the right moment. Years later, the father would look back on that rainy afternoon as the day his world expanded rather than narrowed. He would understand that protecting his daughter had not meant shielding her from pain but teaching her how to respond to it. The girl would grow up remembering the bench, the rain, and the way her heart had insisted on stopping. She would carry that insistence into adulthood, letting it guide her when logic urged her to look away. If this story has stirred something in you, if it has reminded you of the quiet power you hold to change a life, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps stories of compassion reach hearts that need them. Before the ending, here's a special request: comment the word kindness below if you believe small acts can create big miracles. The city still has its benches, its rain, its lonely afternoons. But somewhere within it, a woman walks with confidence, a father carries pride instead of fear, and a daughter grows up knowing that listening to her heart once changed 3 lives forever.